Right, apologies for that. Hopefully that won't happen again later tonight. But we're back with qualifying here at the Nordschleife. Drivers doing their laps here of the circuit as William Foyle is heading out to the end of the lap, and he did struggle towards the latter part of this track, the lap there, where he got a little bit sideways. You probably saw it on the screen, and that would have cost him a lot of time, and he won't get a chance to do another lap as 3.5 minutes to go. There we go, we've got a few drivers coming through, so we'll keep an eye on that. Deeney looks to be quicker than William Foyle, so we'll see how we get on. William Foyle is first to come through into the final part of the lap, braking down to second gear. Right, and then left. And then we'll take a right again. Oh, and a little bit sideways again for William Foyle. He will want to forget about that lap very quickly. As William Foyle's across the line, Ian Deeney is next. Across the line he goes. Next, I believe, is Jeff Purkis. And Ian Deeney is 1.2 seconds slower than William Foyle. But Jeff Purkis, purple in all sectors. This looks to be a very good lap from Jeff Purkis. He'll come across the line now, and that'll put him top. 7:17, much quicker than William Foyle. Jansson and Navalov is next. Through the final part of the circuit goes Jansson, miles slower than Jeff Purkis. Jeff looks to have tied up pole position already, it seems. And across the line goes Jansson. And then Navalov. Jansson goes fourth. Navalov takes second, 6.2 behind Jeff Purkis, but ahead of William Foyle, more importantly for him. Andy Withers is next, with Tor Øyvind Andersen next. So, Andy Withers, here we go. 5.3 down as of sector 2, so pole position looks to be a lost cause. I'm not sure how many more drivers are going to be able to get quicker than Jeff Purkis now. As mentioned, they only really get one lap. Withers approaches the final corner right here. And across the line goes Withers now. That puts him in 6th position. 13 seconds off. Tor Øyvind Andersen crossed the line just then. 7th for him. Who's next? Only one more. Two more. Øyvind Andersen. Here he comes around the final corner, and Cammy McPhail. They're the only ones who will set a time. The others opting not to, or invalidating their times, decide to come back to the pits. Øyvind Andersen across the line. He'll put himself in 7th place ahead of relative. I can't quite remember. I think he's father of Tor Øyvind Andersen. And we've got Cammy McPhail comes across the line. He'll put himself, looks like, pretty decent position. 5th place, yes. 5th place for Cameron McPhail. He'd be very pleased with that. So that'll be it. That's all drivers. I mean, Ola Jansson is still out on the track. But we haven't got much time left in qualifying. He will not be able to complete this lap. But by the looks of it, Jeff Purkis on pole position. 6.2 seconds ahead of Navalov. I mean, the Nordschleife is very much based on seconds rather than tenths. But that is impressive. He'd be very, very pleased with that. And he could be the favourite for tonight. But tyre wear, that is something we need to look at and definitely think about when it comes to the Audis. There's quite a few of them out there. Will they be able to get to the end of this heat race without their tyres being compromised too much? As qualifying concludes very, very shortly. There we go. So, not many set a time. There are 16 drivers in the server, but only 9 set a time. Purkis is on pole position. Navalov 2nd. William Foyle 3rd, the championship leader, by the way. Ian Deeney is in 4th. 5th is Cameron McPhail. 6th, Ola Jansson. Andy Withers is 7th. Øyvind Andersen 8th. And Tor Øyvind Andersen 9th. 10th will line up Gabriel Lopez. Petter Nyström 11th. 12th will be Anastasios Georgiadis. 13th, Alexander Jakobsen. 14th, Scott McLean. 15th, Alex Foyle. 16th, Roel TK. And 17th, Jonas Lindberg. So that is qualifying over and done with. And we are about to go into a warm-up, ready for what will be the first race of the night. The first of 2. Drivers practicing their starts. There's no launch control in this, not like what there is with the DTM 2020s. But getting off the line. It's a very short dash to turn 1, as you can see here. But you definitely don't want to lose out. This is a very twisty start to the lap. This will be what the drivers are getting used to. Jeff Perkis, advantageous of the most. Starting pole position, will have the inside for turn 1. And with his pace in qualifying and in practice, quickest in practice as well, as we mentioned earlier, you'll definitely want to get out in front very early on. He did so at Most, but he came in the pits whilst in the lead, and it dropped him down out of contention for the win. Drivers getting a bit of a blast out of their cars before they go into the race. And as we mentioned earlier, qualifying decides your starting position, of course, for this race coming up now, but also for the feature race coming up later on today. A 21-minute, you could call it a sprint race, coming up first, and then a 35-minute feature race following. So here we go. The drivers will line up on the grid for the final round of the Crest Autosport DTM 92 Raceroom League here at the Nordschleife. Drivers line up on the grid. William Foyle is the championship leader coming into tonight by 87 points. It's a big, big race for him. He can't lose the lead of the championship in this race coming up now, but there's a lot of stake for him. Particularly as most of the field are battling for a position. Most of the field battling for the top 10. So it's quite important for all of these drivers this early race. Here we go, drivers on the grid. Jeff Perkis is on pole position. Alongside him is Navlov going into turn 1. Away we go, good start for Perkis in the Audi, inevitably, but into turn 1 he goes. Navlov is second, William Foyle slots behind. Further back here, oh, it's very, very tight between these three wide, that's Tor Øyvind Andersen, but through goes Lindberg on the outside of Andersen. Scott McLean looking to the outside of the Mercedes, but through the first part of the first sector they go. Down the hill, there goes Scott McLean following behind the Mercedes of Andersen. But Perkis leads, and he's already got a bit of a commanding lead, 1.5 ahead of Navlov, followed by the championship leader, William Foyle. Third in the championship is in fourth at the moment, Ian Deeney. Cameron McPhail second at the BMWs. He's got Andy Withers right behind him. The Audis, as they usually do, getting a very, very good start. And look further back here, we've got Øyvind Andersen battling with Alex Foyle. Alex Foyle will look to get himself further up the order as quickly as he can, and there's a car going sideways there. I think that was Gabriel Lopez. Oh no, and that's an Opel into the barrier. That's Øyvind Andersen. Oh, and he nearly pulled out in front of new driver Anastasios Georgiadis. And already a retirement in Roll TK, but Øyvind Andersen might not be long for him as he went into the tyres fairly hard. Further back here, we have got Jakobsen on the back of Alex Foyle here, who's following the Mercedes of Tor Øyvind Andersen, who is following Gabriel Lopez, and sideways goes the Mercedes. Terrible contact between the two of them there. That sends Lopez into the barrier, and Tor Øyvind Andersen has to wait for the traffic to clear to rejoin the track. Not very good etiquette from those drivers very early on in this race. Got to be very, very careful here at the Nordschleife. We've got William Foyle really close to Navlov. They've dropped to nearly 3 seconds behind Jeff Perkis already, but William Foyle will not be worried about that. William Foyle will be worried about getting points and finishing well tonight. He's ahead of his current championship rival coming into this race, Ola Jansson, who's battling for 7th with Jonas Lindberg, who's alongside him. Jonas is very ill at the moment, but still finding the strength to drive. as he dummies up the inside. Not going to make it on Ola Jansson, his compatriot. Back with William Foyle, following Heike Navaluf. Dini is contending with Cameron McPhail there. He's got Andy Withers in 6th here following as well. Back here we got Anastasios Georgiadis right behind Gabriel Lopez, who's recovering from the spin earlier on, and wide went Lopez. Georgiadis gets in front in the white and yellow Mercedes there, and into 13th he goes for the newcomer. Jeff Purkis leads by more than 3 seconds now ahead of Navaluf. Now he needs to conserve his tyres though, as we mentioned. That's going to be the difficulty for these Audis in this race and certainly the next. Navaluf second. He might be trying to play tortoise in the hare with Jeff Purkis, letting Jeff burn out his tyres, and then the latter part of this 21-minute race, Navaluf will retake the position. We'll find out, I'm sure. Alex Foyle is up to 8th already. Scott McLean is up to 9th. Jansson dropping back. Struggling is the man who's second in the championship coming into tonight. 10th at the moment for him. Not ideal at all, as he's under pressure from Alexander Jakobsen. This is the view from him. Apologies, you can't see the driver's arms and wheel, as I was driving yesterday and we didn't reactivate it. Oh, and had to back off a little bit, did Jakobsen. You should be able to get through here flat out. But look at that Mustang just pull away from the BMW. So much more power behind that Mustang into the left-hander, braking down 1 gear. But this BMW is much better through the corners than the Mustang. And look how much the BMW is reeling back in the Mustang. And still, that Jansson must be really struggling with that Mustang in the bumpy sections and the corners here at the Nordschleife. We have said all season long the Mustang does not favour bumpy tracks. Purkis still leads. 3.7 clear of Navaluf, who hasn't forgotten about William Foyle right behind him. A couple of tenths behind. William Foyle will know what's at stake tonight. He might not want to risk too much. He isn't under too much pressure from Ian Dini behind just yet. And it's all dispersing just a little bit. McPhail is the closest to any... Well, he was close to any driver. Alex Foyle is right behind Jonas Lindberg. This is the battle for 7th. Alex Foyle, who did not qualify. Probably invalidated a lap. Probably decided not to qualify. Oh, and a little bit of nudge up the rear of Lindberg. And he's trying to get past him desperately. Audi versus Audi, both in the same livery. Foyle is the one we're watching there, right behind Jonas Lindberg. And there's just not many opportunities. It's about getting momentum out of a corner, and wide goes Lindberg, and through will go Alex Foyle. Just hit a curb too hard, did Lindberg, and bounced off wide into the fence. But these cars, this sim, you're able to carry on with a slight brush against the wall in these cars. But Foyle is up to 7th, and you now focus on catching this man, Andy Withers, who's a few seconds up the road, trying to close in on Cameron McPhail, who is, gotta say, is much closer to Ian Dini than he has been the rest of the opening lap here at the Nordschleife. Down the hill, we're into the final part of the lap, and look how far ahead Purkis is of Navaluf already. 6 seconds clear. Certainly likes this track, does Jeff Purkis. McPhail dropped off a little bit from Dini there through the fast, twisty section. Oh, and wide goes McPhail. Didn't cut the corner enough, and that'll allow Withers to get by and into 5th place. A slight mistake is all it takes here at the Nordschleife. Down to 6th place for McPhail. And onto the back straight, Jeff Purkis. 6 seconds clear of Navaluf. If we go on board with Navaluf, you can see Jeff Purkis just the speck in the distance there. Not much Navaluf can do right now, but Navaluf is stretching away a little bit from William Foyle behind in 3rd place. William Foyle, championship leader, does have the most ballast of the field, 40 kilos on his car, so that'll let him down on this part of the track in particular. There's many other parts of the track it will let him down as well. Oh, and Cameron McPhail is back into 5th place. Slipstreamed Andy Withers down the straight and has got past him. nearly touching 290 kilometers per hour is the BMW coming down the hill here into the final part of the lap. But the end of lap 1, the very long lap 1, Jeff Purkis. Now, Navalov is closed in a little bit in these last few moments. Closed in a second at least. Are we seeing Jeff Purkis' tyres degrade already? We are on ×2 tyre wear with these server settings. But maybe Purkis is just better suited to sectors 1 and 2. We'll find out on this lap. Navalov cannot forget about Purkis, but equally cannot forget about William Foyle behind him. Oh, and a spin for Navalov, just a bit too hard on the throttle. He spins coming out of the corner there. Oh, and right in front of McPhail. McPhail did very well to avoid that there, but Navalov thought the coast was clear. It was not. Down to 6th place and now 7th place for him. Just too much power on that very powerful rear-wheel drive and very loose BMW. Oh, and you saw Lindbergh going emphatically over the crest there on 2 wheels and a little bit of a camber on the car. Now it's quite a close battle here amongst these cars. Cameron McPhail up to 4th heading them, but that puts William Foyle in the clear, 7 seconds behind Jeff Purkis. We'll see if Foyle can start to catch Purkis, but this is a fairly close battle from 4th to nearly 9th. You could say Scott McLean is nearing that battle, but Lindbergh, you got to say, is at the back of that battle at the moment of 5 cars. Oh, and there's a spin there. I think that's Alex Foyle. Yes, he does. He spins into the wall. Just about keeps it going, but that will let by Navalov, who gets 1 place back from what he lost just a moment ago. Foyle will now have to defend from Lindbergh. And Foyle has crumbled tonight. He's usually been exceptional when it comes to qualifying and the heat races. Tonight it's just not hooking up for him. I mean, this track isn't for everyone, and it might not be for Alex Foyle. Let's just keep an eye on 4th and 5th. McPhail still in 4th, ahead of Andy Withers. Withers has been brilliant in the heat races this season. He's finished on the podium quite a few times. Hasn't attended all races this season. He did miss Brands Hatch. He did miss... forgot what was round 4. Norris Ring. But he's had 3 podium finishes in 3 rounds he's turned up to. 2nd place last time out at Most. Just going back here, that's Navalov, who's lost a position again to Foyle. He went wide coming out the corner there, and Foyle managed to get back past. It's crunch time for these drivers with 10 minutes to go. We're nearing the we are just over the halfway phase now, with the 21-minute session here. Now back towards the front. Foyle has dropped back more than a second from Purkis again on this lap. So 8.4, well, just over 8 seconds. I know it nips under every now and again, but an 8-second gap from Purkis, and it is getting bigger. So Foyle looking set in 2nd place. So you'll probably have more worries about behind him Ian Deeney, who's having a very good run here in 3rd place. Cameron McPhail, you can't forget about him. He's not too far behind 3rd place. And he's got Andy Withers breathing down just outside a second from him. But McPhail this has been so far the highest placing he's found himself in. It's very much been round about the midfield. He got a top 10 finish at Most in the feature race 3 weeks ago. But so far so good for McPhail. Andy Withers doing well as well, but he's got Alex Foyle to worry about. Alex Foyle, who's been one of the quickest men in the series. Championship wise, it doesn't really suggest that, but he certainly has been at the top of the table when it comes to times on most tracks here. He got a good run as we approach the banking. Will he try the outside? He takes a late cut and gets back in behind Andy Withers going around this banking here. Oh, nearly rolling over there. He was on 2 wheels coming at the end of the banking there, but still right on the rear of Andy Withers. Back there's Lindbergh versus Navalov as well. Let's not forget about them. Foyle close to Withers, trying the undercut where he can. He's trying the inside here. Withers just gives him enough room, and they're still side by side. It's a good run out of the corner from Alex Foyle, and he gets in front. Good move from Alex Foyle. Into 5th place he goes, having started what I think he was 13th. But a good comeback for Alex. You can't write him off for a podium just yet. He's only 6 seconds, 5 seconds even, behind Ian Deeney. And he's got to close in Cameron McPhail and pass him, and then close in Ian Deeney and pass him. There's something going on back here. Oyvind Andersen spinning in the hairpin. And a bit of damage on that front end. It's not been a good race for Andersen, but can he keep it going to the end? As if you finish, you score points. And this is the battle for 10th. Jakobsen versus Jansson. And something to bear in mind is most races we have been looking out for a reverse grid winner, which has usually been for 8th, but in this race we're not. Qualifying results decide your grid for this race and the feature race coming up, so it is merely just about points tonight in this race. We'll come back to Jakobsen very, very soon, as Jansson in this part of the track will definitely be quicker than the BMW. Real close between these four, all within a second of each other. McPhail at the front, Foyle in 5th, Withers next, who's got Navalov behind him. Now, which of these cars will be better along this back straight here? It'd be interesting to see if the Audi catches the BMW, or if the BMW behind these two Audis will catch the Audis. Andy Withers was a little bit wide coming through the corner there. Now let's get on board with Navalov. Let's see how much he reels in Andy Withers down the straight. He'll have slipstream. He's also got to worry about Scott McLean behind, who is not too far behind Navalov and catching. Oh, look at that. Big run on Withers. Navalov just cruises past the Audi. The Audis are sitting duck on this straight. Let's see how close Foyle is. Now, he might have edited his gears, as it is an open setup, but could not close in enough on Cameron McPhail. But oh, and there was a bit of a glitch there from Foyle there, technical difficulty there, as he just went into the barrier just so randomly, still keeping it going. But these guys will now start their final lap. Perkis, 1 lap to go here at the Nordschleife. He hasn't opened up much of a gap from William Foyle. Still only 8 seconds clear. Now this might be the point in the race where the Audi's tyres are going to degrade. But William Foyle has stretched away a little bit from Ian Deeney, which he'll be pleased about. Deeney is still some distance clear from McPhail. That's a spin from Alex Foyle. Foyle has spun into the barrier on the start of this lap, and has that cooked his engine? No, it hasn't. He's able to keep going. But a lot of damage on that Audi, and he's got a lot of the lap to go. Down to 9th place. It's just not been his night. It was looking promising on lap 2 there, but that keeps McPhail in 4th place. Navalov is back up to 5th, having got past Andy Withers on the back straight. McLean is real close to Andy Withers. Both Crest Autosport drivers, please behave yourself, guys. Bring home the bacon, as they say. Scott McLean trying to get a bit of a draft on Andy Withers, both in the same car. It'll be all about gear ratio differences, as McLean is a little unsettled going over the banking, the bump there. Oh, and Withers using all the road, nearly a little too much, but keeps it going as they go into the long right-hander here. Closest battle on the track is these two. Navalov is getting a little bit closer to McPhail. He'll want that 4th place. He dropped from 2nd earlier on in the race on lap 1, and he'll want a few more points back. Oh, and McPhail has pushed a little bit too hard. He goes into the barrier. He's able to keep it going, definitely. And there's another car gone wide. That's Andy Withers. And that'll let through McLean. Huge changes here for these drivers, and a lot of damage on Andy Withers' Audi there. So McPhail drops 1 place, and he's under pressure from Scott McLean. Withers has dropped a few places. And look at Scott McLean. He's come up from 14th, I think it is. He's up to 6th at the moment, and he's got 5th in his sights. Oh, and wide goes Scott McLean now. It's all crumbling for these drivers. Are the tyres just getting a beyond capability for these drivers? Lindbergh, who's ill, I remind you. Oh, and look at Scott McLean on his side nearly. And into the barrier he goes, but he's able to keep it going. All these drivers are having drama now on this early part of this lap. And Lindbergh has got himself into 6th place. I was just saying he's very ill tonight, and somehow he's racing. But 6th place for him has just been handed to him in the last few minutes or so. McPhail will be pleased to see that in his mirror, but Navalov is in the clear in 4th place. He's got past McLean with his mistake. And in the clear, you could say. Foyle getting past Andy Withers there. Withers with a struggling car, it seems. Foyle will probably also have a struggling car. But those 3 Audis have struggled on this lap. And it's Lindbergh who's got the better of them, just keeping it clean. You can see how much more intact that Audi is than the others behind him. And he's looking to get the better of McPhail. As wide again is Scott McLean. Really struggling now as Alex Foyle will close in on the stricken Audi. Let's get on board. We can see Alex Foyle here not got the top end anymore, I don't think. And so skittish on the rear end through this section is Scott McLean in front, but able to keep it going and pull away ever so slightly from Alex Foyle, who's got a lot more damage and probably more engine damage on his car. Andy Withers is not getting any closer to these two. Foyle still real close to McLean. Oh, and McLean under braking, very, very loose on the rear end. They approach the banked corner. Oh, and Scott McLean sideways there. Oh, and Alex Foyle just couldn't help but catch the rear end of McLean there, who's really struggling this lap. Down to 90 goes. Lindbergh real close to Cameron McPhail. He might be able to try and move here, looking left to right, and he couldn't quite find the gap. As McPhail goes through that corner way, way quicker and has opened up a little bit of a gap. But Lindbergh on certain corners has been quicker than McPhail, evidently, as he closed up to the rear of the BMW. At some point, we're going to have to switch to this man, the race leader, who's just bringing it home at the moment. He has extended his lead from William Foyle on this lap, despite the tyre wear. Jeff Perkins has been exceptional in this race thus far. Still some time to go for him, as it's a long lap. McPhail, a very loose rear end for him there, drifting it round these corners as best he can to stay in the top 5. Cameron McPhail's best result this season is 6th. So this will be a favoured result for him, as Navalov, something's happened to him on the last few corners as McPhail has closed in a little bit. And in fact, Ian Deeney is in a little bit of trouble as Navalov has closed in on him by a few seconds on this lap. So it's all still to play for with a couple of corners to go. Let's just see how far they actually are. Jeff Perkins nearing the final part of the circuit. Oh, gotta keep going. McPhail closing in on Navalov. Oh, Lindbergh very sideways coming through this very fast section of the track. And in fact, that's it. It's just turned the car around. He hit the curb, then hit the barrier, but he's able to keep the position. And look back here. Withers is still facing off against McLean, who goes wide there. But Withers hands on to 7th, and McPhail, he'll definitely enjoy seeing Lindbergh struggling his rear as his rear tyres himself are letting go on this part. There's just not much time to go, and he just needs to keep it going. But we've got to switch to this guy, as everyone is now on that back straight. Or just check that they are. Yeah, they're all coming on the back straight now. But what a drive from Jeff Perkins in this race. So far tonight, he's been first all round, first in practice, quickest in qualifying and quickest in the race, and over 13 seconds clear of William Foyle. This man is battling for 2nd in the championship, and this is certainly a good start to his bid for 2nd in the championship. Jeff Perkins will come around the final corner to win here at the Nordschleife, race 1 of the night. His 2nd win of the season. William Foyle will come through the final few corners now. It's very close between McLean and Withers, I can see, and we just got to switch them. McLean has got past, but Withers, Foyle comes through second. This will help him in his championship bid, certainly. Ian Deeney will cross the line in third. Navaluf comes through fourth, a dramatic race for him, but he hangs on in the end. What a race from Cameron McPhail, his best finish of the season, fifth place for him. Lindbergh, despite being ill, comes through in sixth. McLean behind in seventh with his comeback from 13th or 14th. Withers is eighth. Alex Foyle has messed up at the end. Jakobsen has come through in ninth. Jansson steals 10th on the final corner, and Alex Foyle spun on the final corner and spun on the first corner of the in-lap. Not a good race for him, only 11th. Petter Nyström in the tic-tac livery. We haven't mentioned him at all tonight. He comes through 12th. Tor Øyvind Andersen, 13th. He is coming towards the end of the lap here. But that man wins tonight's opening race. And as we mentioned, the qualifying results from earlier decide the grid for race 2. So it's looking very good for Jeff Purkis, who covered about 3/4 the distance he'll cover in the feature race. An extra 2 laps in the feature race. Will he be able to hang on in the feature race with pace like that? Gotta say, it's looking good for him. But there we go. Just got one more car to come through. Gabriel Lopez is a retirement, sadly. And Øyvind Andersen, despite the first lap shenanigans, does come through to take a finish. Oh, there we go. So that has been the opening race of the night. We'll be back very soon with the final race of the season. Don't go away.
The GP Box is an online marketplace for motorsports, merchandise and memorabilia. Browse for a whole range of motorsports products in all forms of motorsport. Take Formula 1 for example. There is a whole section dedicated to Formula 1 products from your favourite drivers, cars, teams or tracks from all eras of Formula 1. There are more series available, including WRC if you are a rally fan. You can even search for your favourite form of motorsport to see what products they have in your favourite forms of motorsport. Or, if yourself are a retailer in motorsport, you could set up your own shop within the GP Box to open up your products to a much bigger motorsport audience. Find out more at thegpbox.com. The GP Box is an online marketplace for motorsports, merchandise and memorabilia. Browse for a whole range of motorsports products in all forms of motorsport. Take Formula 1 for example. There is a whole section dedicated to Formula 1 products from your favourite drivers, cars, teams or tracks from all eras of Formula 1. There are more series available, including WRC if you are a rally fan. You can even search for your favourite form of motorsport to see what products they have in your favourite forms of motorsport. Or, if yourself are a retailer in motorsport, you could set up your own shop within the GP Box to open up your products to a much bigger motorsport audience. Find out more at thegpbox.com.
Well, welcome back to the final race of the season. Round 12 of the outright, round 6 of the 92 DTMs on Crest Autosport Raceroom Leagues. Sponsored by the GP Box, the online motorsport marketplace for motorsports merchandise and memorabilia, and our affiliates below. Track Racer UK, you can use the discount coupon CREST in capital letters to get discount on any Track Racer product. 603 Autosport for digital innovations for your track day race cars. Freem UK for motorsport apparel and lovely stickers, for customized stickers for your sim racing rig and wheelbases and wheel rims. Tonight, as we mentioned, the Nordschleife, the Green Hell, or Green Heel as it says in the overlay there, a mammoth of motorsport featuring tonight's races, and has already featured some dramatic racing tonight. As we mentioned, this is the final race of the season. The feature race now is a 35-minute feature where the grid is based on qualifying, where it all comes down to the wire. Started off all them weeks ago. This was the season we've undergone, 12 rounds, and the final race of it all is here and now. Drivers getting a little bit of practice out there. And we'll have a little bit more housekeeping before we get underway. We do not have the championship status live right now, but immediately after the feature race we will go away and we will figure out the results. If we can't do that tonight, failing that, you'll be able to find out the results almost instantly on our Facebook page. So do tune into that if we have to go away after tonight's racing. But it's been a long season. What's coming up next? I'm sure you're wondering. Well, as we mentioned, in just under a month's time, we've got one of our biggest events of the year, the Spa 50. 50 laps of the legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit will be on the 1st of May. You can enter this by joining our Facebook group, which you will find in the description of all these live streams you can watch. And we have a full season coming up after the Spa 50 event, a WTCR League. You can enter this via our group as well, but 12 rounds on a tour of Europe featuring all of Raceroom's TCR categories. 10 manufacturers to choose from and over 80 liveries to choose from. So, the sit rep coming into tonight, championship-wise, William Foyle was leading the championship by 87 points over Ola Jansson. He would have opened that lead over Ola Jansson to a lot more than that, given that Ola just about finished 10th in the previous race and William Foyle finished 2nd. But there's a lot of other drivers who had a good race, including that of Ian Deeney and Stefan Navalov. So that battle for second will certainly crunch up between them three. And Jeff Perkins will definitely would have gained on them three ahead of him. winning the first race there, but it's all about the feature race for him. He'll want a good result in the feature race to try and claim second place. Those that finish second and third, William Foyle has already claimed his prizes for winning the outright, so the prizes are up for grabs for second place and third place. Freem UK glove set and the lovely stickers set for your wheelbase is up for grabs for second and third. So whoever finishes there gets those lovely prizes. So take a look at some of the drivers who are out on track. Jonas Lindberg, very ill tonight is Jonas, but as I've mentioned many a times, but giving it a go anyway. We have someone joining us for the feature race though. Tonga Guardia, getting as much practice as he can before we start tonight. Tonga Guardia, being in Argentina, we're still on working hours during the heat, bless him. But that chance of second place is definitely gone for him. He was in the battle coming into tonight, but missing that heat earlier definitely would have hampered him. But good to have him along for this feature race to see the season out for himself. Big thank you to this man who's come along for his first race in Crest Autosport tonight, Anastasios Georgiadis. Finished 13th, I believe it was, in race 1, so good job to him. This man, all eyes will be on him as he's coming backwards down the pit lane. Not entirely sure why he's doing that. Really don't know what William Foyle's doing, but making a fool out of himself. Given that we've just got a feature on him here on the broadcast to mention that he is probably going to be the championship winner after tonight. Really, all he has to do is get it to the end. I mean, he can finish well down the order and still win the championship. I'll just get confirmation on that, in fact. So if we look at the final points, yeah, pretty much all William Foyle has to do is finish the race. If he finishes the race, he wins the championship. But if he doesn't finish the race, there's all sorts of complications in that. So that'll be what's on his mind. Finish the race, above all. The man to look out for in this next race, Jeff Purkis, who was phenomenal in that first race. Certainly putting his stamp down on second in the championship. But it will come down to this next race of the night, where he'll need another good result like that to claim it. But he's certainly closed the gap to second in front of him. See if I can just about figure out how much he's closed in. He closed in on Ian Deeney by 8 points. So let's just get that on screen there. Yeah, he closed in on Ian Deeney by 8 points, so really not closed in enough really to put too much worry in Ian Deeney's mind, but within 30 points from Navlov, who finished 4th place. He scored 12 points more than him, so like Ian Deeney has closed in a bit, but probably not as much as he would have wanted. And on Ola Jansson, he closed in a lot more. 34 points he closed in on Ola Jansson, so he's ran about the same. I've got a feeling Jansson, Deeney and Navlov are very close on points, and I think Deeney might be second in the championship as it stands right now. But if Purkis can get another decent result tonight in this feature race, that's if he can, he'll certainly be in good contention for second in the championship. But here we go. We're about to get underway for the final race of the season. This is the DTM 92s by Crest Autosport Raceroom Leagues at the Nordschleife. Thank you for being a part of this season. My name is Alex Everett. I've been your commentator all the way through this, and I'll be your commentator for the Spa 50 and the next WTCR League. So here we go, drivers line up on the grid, ready for this 35-minute race. It's been a 30-minute race all the way through thus far, but now 35 minutes, an extra 5 minutes to do for these drivers, so they might need to pit, is what we were in a dilemma over earlier. But Jeff Purkis is at the front. Lights are red and now they are green. Good start for Purkis. He gets away into turn 1 first. William Foyle spins. That's the championship leader. He spun, not even got to the first corner, and he spun. I mean, there's nothing to worry about just yet, but that will not help his nerves. Just couldn't get off the line well enough. Oh, and it's drama to behold so far here. And look at this, across the gravel there. I think that was Lopez. Lopez struggling at the back here. So is Alex Foyle. And look at all these cars just bunching up together. There's an Opel in the middle there. And Øyvind Andersen up to 7th already. And just look at these cars bunch up. And this is just allowing the drivers ahead to get away. And that's Lindberg getting sideways behind the Opel. Out of the corner they go, and that back there was Jakobsen getting into the barrier there. William Foyle back here is caught up to the back of this pack. He'll want to gain a few positions, but above all, he's kept his car safe, and he's still running. That's what he needed, but he is near the back of the pack. Out of the race already is Øyvind Andersen. I'm not sure what has happened to him. And look at all these cars bunched up in the mid-pack here. This is Lindberg on the outside of Andersen. Foyle is up ahead in the other Audi, and look at that, Andersen closing the door on Lindberg, who's defending from McLean. Lindberg getting very, very loose in that Audi there. Wide goes Andersen, breaking into the corner. There's a lot of side-to-side contact between the Norwegian and the Swedish driver there. Round the corner they go. And I suppose at some point we have to look to the drivers at the front. But this is so close. Lindberg, door-to-door contact. He's still going. Andersen still trying to challenge Lindberg. He's on the grass, and now that'll surrender potentially to Scott McLean. And Scott McLean squeezes through ahead of the Opel. Oh, and wide back there, I think that was, yeah, Georgiadis battling with Nystrom. He's got Foyle behind him as well. Foyle is at one place. And he had to leave the drama till the final race of the season, didn't he, boy, William Foyle? He's already secured the 2020s. Obviously, he did that 2 weeks ago. He secured the outright overall championship. But there's one more to go tonight for him, and it's this one. He just needs to keep things going. If that engine is running and he can get the car to the end, that's all he needs to do. Tonga Guardia rejoining very, very late on tonight. I think he's struggling for damage, in fact, and he's rejoined tonight. Is going to be a little bit inexperienced for lap time from the others, but he's giving it a go nonetheless. So out in front, we haven't mentioned him yet. Jeff Purkis already 4 seconds clear. So what is the tactic for Jeff Purkis? I mean, he was far out in front at Most 3 weeks ago, and he decided to pit from the lead and compromise it. Will he do the same again today? Will Navalov and Dini be able to keep the cars going, the tyres going to the end? We'll find out. These three were 3rd, 4th and 5th. Not in the same order as they are now, but they were 3rd, 4th and 5th in the sprint race, so good points for them tonight. Dini has a championship rival right ahead of him in Navalov. They were only 1 point apart coming into tonight, and Dini would have extended that lead to 3 points. And this is McLean following Lopez. Lopez doing very well so far in this race, 7th at the moment for him. McLean closing in. There's a mangled front end on that Audi as he moves to the outside. What will be the outside for this long left-hander coming up? Closing the door is Lopez, and McLean is getting it all wrong. It was closed on him, and he won't be happy about that. But McLean has got to try again. He's got Lindberg right behind him, trying to get past him now. But you've got to say, Lopez certainly closed the door on McLean there. And McLean's got more work to do. William Foyle, sit rep on the championship leader, who dropped out He was literally only 10 metres away from the start line, and he spun it. He's in 12th now. He's got ahead of Jakobsen. He's got Withers ahead of him, and Anderson in the Opel. Back towards the top 4. This is McPhail, close to Ian Deeney. Alex Foyle doing well back there. He started 14th or 13th, one of them, and he's up to 5th already. Oh, McPhail getting a bit squirrely coming out the corner there, over the hill there. But these 4 real close together. But this is what's been on the minds of all these drivers in the feature race, is keeping the tyres clean to the end. That'll be what the thoughts of many drivers, that many of them who haven't pitted at all in the feature races this season, those who are not in the Audi anyway, probably will consider pitting in this race. Alex Foyle close to McPhail. McPhail is struggling with that rear end. Every time we look at him coming out of the corner, he's struggling to keep it together, but he is, you've got to say. And he's keeping with the guys in front. Foyle in the 4-wheel drive Audi. He's trying to get some points back. His bid for 3rd tonight in the championship hasn't been a good one, but might he be able to claw back some points tonight in this feature race? Not too sure, but we'll find out, I'm sure. These 4 real close together on such a big track so early on in this race. They'll do approximately 5 laps, as we mentioned, and this is only lap 1. Lap part of the circuit. The sun's setting over this far south side of the circuit. Oh, look at that, a lunge up the inside from Foyle on McPhail. Bit of door-to-door, but they still go through the corner side by side. Foyle has more traction coming out the corner, is able to get in front of McPhail. That's 4th place for Foyle at the moment, but let's see what happens on the back straight here. As we saw, the BMW was much better than the Audi under slipstream, so let's just have a look from the onboard of Cameron McPhail. Foyle had a good exit, you've got to say, on Ian Deeney, and Deeney's trying to get Foyle out of the slipstream to stay in the slipstream of Navalov in front. Let's go on board with Foyle. He's closing in on the Mercedes, and the Mercedes is closing in on the BMW ahead. They go side by side. Foyle will go back behind Navalov and has to back off. Deeney will go alongside, and he'll probably get past Navalov as we come over the hill now. We'll descend down the hill. Foyle is now on the inside of Navalov, and look at McPhail trying to come back, and Alex Foyle, he's alongside, and he's got back in front. Brilliant move from McPhail. Completely dummied Alex Foyle and has got back in front, breaking into the corner. Not too many changes for position. McPhail is up 1, Deeney's up 1. Well, might we see this for the remainder of the race? I certainly hope so. A game of chess almost between these drivers. Going into turn 1, Foyle looked to the inside of McPhail, but is not able to make it. The leader, Jeff Purkis, while the others squabble for position, he's near 9, well, he's over 9 seconds clear of Ian Deeney, and he's just out on his own. Really, this is all he needs to do. And it'll be a clean sweep tonight for Jeff Purkis thus far, if it continues. And that's Alex Foyle in the pits. We're not able to get replays. I'm not too sure what happened to him there. That's him out of the race. That's it. And Scott McLean is out of the race. Not sure what's happened to Alex Foyle there. Oh, I'm sorry we didn't catch that. We're not able to get replays on Raceroom, but not entirely sure what happened to that. I'm sure you'll let us know in the YouTube comments shortly. But his brother, championship leader coming into tonight, 8th place. That's enough for him to secure the championship. It's not the ideal night for William Foyle, but it'd be enough. But the man in 5th place at the moment, Gabriel Lopez, this is the best performance he's had position-wise. He's had a bit of drama with Scott McLean, who's now out of the race. But position-wise, this is exceptional for Gabriel Lopez. Now, it's a 3-way battle for second, as Ian Deeney stretches away from Cameron McPhail. Tonga Guardia in the pits already. Probably getting damage repaired, I presume. But Deeney has stretched away in these last few corners from McPhail and Navalov. And McPhail, who's got his way past Navalov in the early part of this lap, might have been what happened between them and Alex Foyle. Not too sure. Let's just see if Alex has let us know. No, he hasn't. Scott McLean's out. Scott, please let us know what happened to you. I know you had a bit of drama with Lopez. but this will be the end of the season not many of them wanted. Dream end of the season for some of these drivers, particularly McPhail. He's in a podium running right now. He got his best result of the season in the previous race, 5th. And Ian Deeney, who hasn't had much luck tonight, has had a lot more luck tonight, but touch wood. Let's see if that continues tonight. William Foyle, 8th place, coming back up through the order. A spin on the opening straight of the lap on lap 1. Up the inside of Ola Jansson. Jansson gives room. Jansson probably knows William Foyle is trying to win the championship here. Foyle, I'm not sure if he knows he has already, well, he hasn't already won it, sorry. As it stands, he's won it. By some margin, anyway. 10 seconds clear now is Jeff Purkis, but still a long way to go. We've only done 10 minutes of this race. We've got 25 minutes yet to go. Tonga Guardia still in the pits, getting damage repaired, and now he leaves the pits. There's still a lot of damage on that car, you've got to say, but he'll resume and he'll try and claw back some points. Valuable points that will help him in the championship. There is one driver who was battling for second in the championship coming into tonight. It was Albin Kilgren. Hasn't raced tonight, so that'll give a few positions to some of these drivers. Tonga Guardia might be one of them. Petter Nystrom, Alex Foyle, Tonga Guardia, Scott McLean might get that position as well. Looking back to championship leader. He got past Jansson earlier on. He's now closing in on Lindbergh and closing in on Lopez in 5th. The top 5 is in sight for William Foyle. Not the ideal result, he'll think, but it's certainly better than what was looking like at the start of the race. McPhail having a much better second half to this lap. He's got away ever so slightly from Navalov, a couple of seconds, and has closed in on Ian Deeney in the last half a lap or so. Foyle closing in on the 2 Audis ahead of him. He's got to be real careful around these two, as they have been the source of a bit of drama in this race so far. Lopez hanging on like a brick wall to 5th place tonight so far. On board William Foyle coming round the banking, and Gabriel Lopez getting very, very loose, and William Foyle giving him a nudge up the rear. That will make William Foyle nervous, certainly. But he carries on thus far without too many dramas. No damage on the car, and wide there goes Lindbergh. He'll let through Foyle. That's 1 place up for Foyle, and he's only got 1 more to get by. You can certainly say he's quicker than these two, so once he's passed, you won't have so many troubles. He's now up the inside of Lopez. Lopez really hammering the door of some of these drivers tonight, but Foyle gets through. Into 5th place he goes, and you've got to say at this point, Foyle, he's got it all tied up. He just needs to keep it going. He can't make silly mistakes like he did at the start of the race, just power down too much and let the rear go round. Oh, Lopez goes wide. Lindbergh will now be up the inside. Oh, still making door-to-door contact is Lopez, but into 6th place goes Lindbergh. Andy Withers, something's happened to him. He's spun and he's stationary. Engine's running, and now he's gone back to the pits. That's race over for Andy Withers. It was looking like a pretty good night for Andy as well, but he's out. There's 3 Audis out, and Crest Autosport drivers as well. Never mind. End of the season, move on to the next one. 3 Audis out in this race. 13 drivers remain. Looking at Gabriel Lopez. Thus far, this, as it stands anyway, this would be his best result of the season. So he runs wide, the latter part of the lap there. Let's get to Jeff Purkis, who will finish lap 2. Another lead lap for him. It's been a near perfect night for him so far. 13.5 seconds clear of Ian Deeney. That's the gap he won race 1 to. and we're just about to descend with 20 minutes to go. End of lap 2, he'll have about 3 laps to go. Now, here we go. Jeff Perkis decides to pit now. Will other drivers pit? That's the question. And Jeff Perkis comes in the pits now to get on probably all 4s. It'll lose him a lot of time, but we've seen Jeff's pace tonight. Will he be able to claw it back? Deeney now comes around the final corner. He'll take the lead. Cameron McPhail has decided to pit as well. So he was 3rd, and he'll pit. William Foyle stays out. Lindbergh stays out. Ola Jansson stays out, but I think that's Lopez in the pits. Yes, Lopez will come in for tyres. So with the few Audis that are left, they will probably pit. Let's keep our eye on Jeff Perkis, but Ian Deeney just stretching away there. Let's load up the map, just keep an eye on things. We'll stay with Jeff Perkis there, who now leaves the pits. Now, did he take on all 4s? I can't quite tell. Half a minute behind. And right, you can see Ian Deeney still at the bottom of the circuit. I mean, it is the Nordschleife. It's easier to gain time on this track than other circuits. It's also easier to lose time. But Jeff Perkis on fresh rubber, and being the quickest man on track, might be able to claw back a lot of time. He just needs to do what he's been doing all night. This could be real interesting. Lopez is still in the pits. McPhail now leaves the pits. McPhail leaves the pits. No speeding in the pit lane from either of those drivers thus far. That would be something that would mortify them in this race, is a speeding in the pit lane penalty, but neither have had it. William Foyle finds himself back into top 3 with the strategy decision from Perkis and McPhail. Let's see if it benefits them. Deeney leads the race, nearly 7 seconds clear of Navalov. Both are teammates for the Spa 50 event we mentioned earlier. They are teammates both in the Alfa Romeo, I believe. William Foyle also entered the Spa 50 at the moment, opting to drive the Lincoln Co. Other drivers who've entered: Andy Withers has entered, Alex Foyle, Scott McLean. Not many of these other drivers have entered just yet for Spa 50. I'm sure we will see their entry. Ola Jansson's another. I think he might be driving a Seat Cupra for Spa 50. But do follow that event on this channel and on the Raceroom Leagues group. Oh, and a spin there for Petter Nystrom. 10th place at the moment. I don't think he was quite a far way behind Anderson anyway. But he resumes with what seems to be no damage. Just a minor, just a brief excursion for him. It's Jeff Perkis, 33 seconds down. It's something Jeff's been doing all season, is pitting and trying to claw back time, but it hasn't been very successful. Let's see what he can do. At the moment, he's not really gaining much on Ian Deeney. Closes in on Alexander Jakobsen. We've got to keep an eye on Deeney at the front, see if he decides to pit at any point during this race. He might try and see it out. It might be something he decides for the well, as he starts what will be the final lap in over 1 lap's time. And Perkis is through and past. Jakobsen convincingly passed and will now begin his charge towards the top 5. A long way up the road from him, so he's got a lot of work to do. William Foyle 3rd at the moment. Just 2 seconds behind Navalov. It's been a good comeback from Foyle, you've got to say. Will he be able to get himself back in the top 3 after everyone has pitted? It'll be be real interesting to see if these drivers do decide to pit, as they haven't all season. But with that extra 5 minutes, might be what makes the decision. Some could brave it, some probably won't. We've already seen that McPhail decided not to brave it, as William Foyle going a bit wide there, just kept it going. But McPhail is the only non-Audi driver to keep it going. To bring it in and get fresh rubber. Of the non-Audi drivers, Perkis and Lopez are the others of the Audis. Bluff and Foyle, I believe, are closing in on Dini in the lead at the moment. But in this last few corners, Foyle's dropped off a little bit from Navalov. In these cars, on this tyre model, on this track, it is very difficult to get an outright perfect lap. But we definitely saw earlier Jeff Perkis was hooking up perfect laps. 32, just shy of 32 seconds behind Dini. He is closing in, probably not at a rate he'd wish to. I mean, he'd have to close in over 2 seconds per minute. I mean, is that possible? Lopez will come, Dini's will come onto the final part of the lap. Oh, and something happened to Cameron McPhail. He spun it. McPhail on fresh rubber has spun it, and it's now fallen behind Lopez. A big dent in that front end. So sorry we can't get replays. Raceroom, please fix that. But drama for McPhail, as what was looking like a cunning strategy might have gone to tatters. And a little bit of damage on that front end. We'll see if he can claw back some positions and some time. But a crumble already for these drivers in the running. This man's only 13 minutes away from what will be the Triple Crown. The 2020's already secured, and in doing so he secured the outright, being more than 200 points clear, and this one, the 92s, will be secured tonight as it stands. All he's got to do, as we said, is get it to the end. So Ian Dini has come into the pits. Navalov stays out. So Dini has gone with a different strategy to what he has done all season. What about William Foyle? William Foyle has decided to pit as well. So these drivers just deciding now you cannot go on. So this is great news for Jeff Perkis. It's what he's been hoping for all season, is drivers in other cars to pit. Dini here, and there's another Audi in the pits. That's Lindbergh, and through will go Jeff Perkis back into the top three. Jansson stays out, who's not too far ahead of Perkis, and Navalov has stayed out. Navalov taking a big risk here. He might be slower than his competitors around him. Dini leaves the pits now. Shortly, William Foyle will as well, and he gets back out behind Jakobsen, who he wasn't battling for position with, but he's a long way behind Perkis, is Dini. 14 seconds behind, so really Perkis didn't close in that much on Dini. William Foyle resumes. About 10 seconds behind Dini, so lost a little bit of time in the pits there. Lindbergh's back out on track. Anderson's in the pits, so is Georgiadis. Nystrom stays out. So is the BMW the one that's not wearing as much when it comes to tyres? It's difficult to say. Dini has had to spin. We can't get a replay, and this was coming on to the long straight here, and that surrenders the position to William Foyle, who's just gone past him. Dini spun it on cold tyres, and the tyres before they came in the pits red hot, and they've got fresh rubber. Just a surprise of grip, I presume, for these drivers, and a lot of damage on Ian Deeney's car at the front, as we'll see in just a second. There you go. So Deeney and McPhail both spinning, coming out the pits. It's been real tricky for these drivers to handle those tyres coming out of the pits. But William Foyle definitely in a strong position now. He might have found himself back in the running for second place if Navalov and Jansson pit. But Perkis has only got 16 seconds to claw back on Navalov. He was near half a minute behind Navalov when he decided to come in the pits. Or when he left the pits, do excuse me. So he is closing in a huge amount. And he's got Jansson not too far ahead. So Perkis back in the top three. Feature races hasn't been, as we've mentioned, the strong suit for Jeff Perkis. He finished 10th, 13th, 9th, 10th and 8th this season in feature races. But tonight, being a longer race, certainly suited him. He closed in on Jansson, gets it up the inside and will take the position. Jansson lets him have it. Jansson's been very good in dealing with traffic tonight, you've got to say. I'm not saying he hasn't this season, definitely not saying that, but when he's had someone closing in on him and alongside him, he's let them go, which is great to see. I mean, we love good racing, but when one's that much quicker than you, you've got to have consideration. William Foyle, championship leader, coming into today. As it stands, wins it. Hasn't been his best night. It hasn't been since the update of the tyre model on these cars. But he got into the lead of the championship early on in this championship. And it's just been consistent throughout. Been the master of the feature race, and there's a battle going on between Nystrom and Lopez. They've just swapped position, and I think Nystrom might have taken a spin earlier on, a few corners ago. Foyle closing in on Jakobsen, who hasn't pitted yet. Navalov hasn't pitted either, but Perkis is within 14 seconds of Navalov now. And if Navalov decides to pit, that will see Perkis back in the lead by a convincing margin over William Foyle. William Foyle is second of those who have pitted. Oh, and he's making the move on Jakobsen now. Jakobsen might have just let him by, but through goes William Foyle into fourth place. So, ahead of William Foyle is Jansson, who hasn't pitted, and Navalov is the only one out of the front runners who hasn't pitted yet. Oh, as he goes very wide there on the edge of the rubber, I'm going to guess it'll be interesting to see what Navalov does here. He'll have one lap to go when he comes by next time. Will he decide to keep it out there? He is struggling, really struggling to keep it into the corners here. He might have no choice but to pit, but will he try and just keep it going? That's going to be an interesting dilemma for Navalov. As he just hits the curb there, it just spears him off to the edge of the track. He's got to be super careful here. Really, is it possible for him to do another lap with these tyres in the state that they are? You can just see how much he's struggling with understeer, which is, believe me, is rare on the BMW M3. Approaching the end of the lap. Oh, big understeer there coming into the right-hander there. He's still 14 seconds clear of Jeff Perkis. Jeff is not closing in all that convincingly. Here we go. Onto the back straight. Now this will be where Navalov decides, am I going to pit or am I going to stay out? He'll look at how much percentage is left on his tyres. You'll see if he can get that to the end, because once you get to 0%, you're very prone to having a puncture. If you don't get a puncture, you're lucky, put it that way. As he comes over the crest, Jeff Perkis, there he is. You can't quite see Navalov, but he's really not that far away. It's been a good third sector for Jeff Perkis, as he's within 13 seconds now, not over 13 seconds behind. So Navalov, let's keep an eye on him. Will he come into the pits? Final corners now. Navalov stays out. Oh, this is interesting. Real interesting. Navalov stays out on a gamble. Above all drivers, could it pay off? Jeff Perkis does stay out. And those tyres might be struggling on that Audi now, as he has been out for near on 15 minutes. So he's within 11 seconds of Navalov. 11 seconds to catch in one lap. That previous lap, if I just take a look. Well, put it this way. Jeff Perkis did the fastest lap of the race just then. A 7:20.670. Navalov's fastest lap was a 7:26. And that last lap was invalid. So, really, you gotta say, Perkis, well, he can claw in at least 6 seconds. It's going to be real close between these two. And there we go. This is the battle for P1. I haven't shown this graphic all season, but let's just keep an eye on these two for a little while. But while we're looking at this, I'm going to decide my driver of the day. Normally I would give it to the person who wins the championship, but I just think that Jeff Perkis has been exceptional tonight. And with a lap to go, I'm going to give my driver of the day to him. Jeff Perkis gets the Grand Prix Box Driver of the Day award. Stunning driving on such a difficult track. But we got this battle for the race to keep an eye on, as Jeff Perkis hasn't really closed in that much on Navalov. He has in that corner, just creeping towards the lower half. Yeah, just under 10 seconds now, so do excuse my comment just a moment ago. Within 10 seconds now, but still, is that enough? Not too sure, but we have to also give credit to this guy, William Foyle. It looked like it was all falling apart for him on the very start of the race, but he's clawed back a lot of time. 4th place for him at the moment. As I mentioned, not the ideal night for him. He won't be pleased with his performance tonight, or his results tonight, but all he had to do really was get it to the end and finish well in these races tonight. In a swap of positions, Dini has got himself past Jakobsen. Dini, who had drama as he came out the pits into the top 5 again. Cameron McPhail looking strong earlier in this race and definitely had a good result in race 1, but this race just hasn't gone his way with a little bit of damage on that front end. It's a shame to see. This is your race leader at the moment, and if you look at where he is on the track at the very top of the circuit, you can see there he's near halfway through the lap, and he's just shy of 9 seconds ahead of Jeff Perkis. Perkis has really got to hammer it on this lap, and he's relying on Navalov to make a mistake. If Navalov wins this race by being the only one, apart from Jansson of course, to not pit, that is some bravery. You could just about hear the BMW going along the straight. He'll be pushing the guts out of this car, will Jeff Perkis. 8.7 at the moment. You've got to say it's advantage Navalov at the moment. 1 second to go on the clock. It will be this will be the final lap. But once that time expires, they'll be able to complete this lap. what's interesting is, well, I actually, it's only just occurred to me that while I've been raving about the winner of the championship as it stands, second place, I'm really unsure. I got a feeling it might end up going to Navalov, second place, and third place it will be between Jansson and Dini. It might just about go to Jansson, it might even go to Perkis, we're not even sure. But we are going to go offline after this race and we will draw up the results. And the time is really coming down between Perkis and Navalov in the last minute or so. Less than 7 seconds. What is going on with Navalov? It is really plunging down the time. Now within 6 seconds is Jeff Perkis. He's not too far away from the finish. Is Heike Navalov here? Perkis is on the same stretch of corners. Navalov's tyres must be really suffering now. This is a real tricky part of the circuit. As we saw him coming through here on the previous lap, he was just struggling to keep it on the track. Oh, and look at that car just all over the place, coming over the bumps. Timer has expired, so it will be checkered flag this time by Jeff Perkis. Within 6 seconds, not closing in the last few corners or so. Navalov is using every bit of grip he can that he's got left in that car. He's near the end of the lap here. It's just a few more corners before he gets onto the back straight. That will be a sigh of relief. That's Jeff Perkis in the background we just saw then. Oh, and look at that car sideways. He couldn't even get it into the apex then. This is going to be a real close finish, I think, between these two drivers. Jeff is near 5 seconds behind. Not many corners to go. Four and a half seconds between them. Here's Jeff Perkis. He's just one corner behind. He'll see Navalov in his sights. Navalov is onto the front, the back straight now. There's Jeff Perkis. You have to say it's really not going to be enough. Can Navalov's tyres keep going for these last few corners? But while he goes along this final straight, this man, if he gets it to the end, will be your champion. The Triple Crown will go to William Foyle in our opening championship ever on Raceroom. A valiant championship winner indeed. Navalov has not won a feature race this season, but he's about to do so. He comes through the final few corners, tiptoeing it through. He's only 3 seconds clear of Jeff Perkis. He's just feathering it around these corners. Final corner now. Heike Navalov on a huge gamble will win the final race of the season here at the Nordschleife. He takes the win. Jeff Perkis with our drive of the day anyway takes second place. He just needed a little bit more time. He takes the second place here. But this is our championship winner. William Foyle has driven a superb season. Early on in the season, taking valuable feature race wins. William Foyle, your champion of the 1992 DTMs on Crest Autosport. And a third place. A second podium of the night. Brilliant performance from him tonight. Despite the worry he had at the beginning of this race, he kept himself composed straight after that and brought it home. Ola Jansson on another gamble, just like Navalov, brings it home fourth, and that might have saved his second in the championship hopes, his top 3 in the championship hopes. We'll find out after this stream. You have to go to our Facebook page to find out the results. Ian Deeney comes through 5th. He's had a good night. Credit to him. Jakobsen in 6th. In fact, Jakobsen, that's not... He's run out of fuel, I think. Yes, Jakobsen's out of fuel on the back straight here, and that will be a DNF for him. Lopez will come through in 6th, his best result of the season. Oh, what bad luck for Jakobsen. There he is on the side of the road. And through will go Cameron McPhail, but Gabriel Lopez with his best result tonight. 6th place for him. What a result. He'll be so pleased with that. 7th will come through Cameron McPhail inherits the position from Jakobsen, who'll score no points as a result. He just needs, he just needs a little bit more fuel. But Cameron McPhail will come through in 7th. A strong night for him, you've got to say. Petter Nyström tiptoeing his way to the end. That'll be an 8th place finish for him. And newcomer tonight, Anastasios Georgiadis. He's got a long way to go to finish the lap, but he'll come through with a top 10 placing, as will Tonga Guardia, rejoining us in the feature race tonight after missing the heat. But there is your championship winner. Navalov has reset to the pits. He was your race winner. Your driver of the day tonight was Jeff Purkis, but your championship winner, the Triple Crown winner, William Foyle. What a night of racing we've had. What a season we've had. Don't forget, people, there is another season coming up in mid-May. We have the WTCR League starting up on Tuesday nights again, live by us. 12 rounds on a tour of Europe featuring all the TCR cars that you can drive on Raceroom. Will William Foyle defend his crown in that season? We've also got, coming up at the end of the month, the start of the next month, the Spa 50. There'll be qualifying sessions to watch. There might be a split 2 race to watch, depending on the amount of entries we get. But the main race will be on the 1st of May. 50 laps of Spa. All the TCR cars, as we mentioned previously, will feature. Do tune in for that. And do get entered if you haven't already. Get on our Facebook group and get in touch with the admins via the appropriate posts on the Spa 50 event and the WTCR League. Well, we'll see this stream out now. As we said, you can find out the final championship results, but William Foyle is the championship winner. The rest you'll have to find out on Facebook later. But this has been the Crest Autosport Raceroom League's DTM edition, which we'll be re-hosting as another winter series next year. It's the WTCR next, and specifically the Spa 50 event. I've been Alex Everett, your commentator all season and tonight. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.